Did you know about the Finnish Air Force's Franken Hornet? We only learned about it through our research for another video, but thought it would make a pretty entertaining video of its own. Said to be the world's only aircraft of its kind, at least at the time, the Finnish Air Force, with help from the US Navy and Boeing, constructed one functioning F-18D by combining sections/components from two other airframes. The new aircraft was given the nickname Franken Hornet by some and Franken Plane by others, a nod to Frankenstein's monster from the novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And so let's go over the story of Franken Hornet for today's video. One important note before we begin, we weren't able to find too many photos of Franken Hornet before, during or after getting assembled. All we were able to find were a few low-resolution photos. As a result, you'll also be seeing photos and video footage of other Finnish Air Force F-18s to fill in the gaps. Another thing we should quickly mention is that Finland's F-18s were technically built by McDonnell Douglas, but Boeing officially concluded its merger with McDonnell Douglas in 1997. But getting to the story, the Aviation Safety Network states that it was on November 8, 2001 that two F-18C Hornets, registrations Hotel November 430 and Hotel November 413, collided in mid-air. The site Key.Aero says that the pilot of one, Hotel November 430, ejected safely with that aircraft destroyed beyond repair. The other jet, 413, was seriously damaged but made a successful emergency landing on one engine. At the time, the aircraft had less than 500 flight hours, and it's this aircraft that would become Franken Hornet. As explained by a US Navy write-up, the Finnish Air Force constructed its newest two-seater F-18D Hornet by combining sections from the damaged C model and an earlier generation B model Hornet. But this was no quick decision. Indeed, a Finnish Air Force/Patria team evaluated the salvaged aircraft in 2003 and forwarded options for repair or scrapping to government officials the following year. Then, in late 2005, Finnish Air Force leaders accepted the plan to convert the aircraft into a D model using spare parts and a fuselage section from an older B model aircraft purchased from the Canadian Air Force. The US Navy write-up states that Canada at the time was one of 7 nations across the globe operating the Hornet, and that the country had mothballed the airframe in question during downsizing of its inventory several years earlier. Canada's mothballed B model aircraft, like the newer D model, was a two-seater. And so the project involved grafting the cockpit section of the B model onto the tail end or center-aft fuselage of the refurbished C model Hornet to make it two-seater. After systems upgrades, the aircraft was to become a later generation F-18D. The US Navy and the Hornet's original manufacturer, Boeing, helped the Finns with the project. The Canadian Forces was also mentioned as a partner on the project. As already mentioned, Finnish company Patria was involved as well, conducting work in a remote hangar complex in Hali, Finland. And so airframe sections from the two aircraft were melded together after completion of required structural modifications to the forward fuselage. It was stated that Patria engineers were tasked with installing the onboard systems. The US Navy notes that there was some anxiety about the project's feasibility, but this somewhat eased when the sections were brought together. When we first matched the planes up, they fit perfectly, one Finnish Air Force officer was quoted as saying. The project had a budget of 15.1 million euros. It's a lot, but it was also less than half of the aircraft's original price. Work seems to have taken place between 2006 and about 2008 under an aggressive 2-year schedule. In order to expedite procurement of necessary parts, the Navy's Hornet program worked with the Navy International Programs Office to establish a blanket order foreign military sales case, which allowed them to purchase a broad spectrum of services for the Finns. American subject matter experts, out of interest in the project, joined the Finnish Air Force, Boeing and Patria engineers for a coordination meeting in Finland. One of these individuals was quoted as saying, "We'll be with the Finns all the way to help them to a successful conclusion." Because substantial rebuild work on major structural parts involved components that were stress points, the project aircraft was to have a life expectancy at least as long as the Finnish Air Force's current F-18D models. That wasn't meant to be, but we'll explain that part of the story later on. The Finland Foreign Military Sales Program Manager at the US Navy's F-18 and EA-18G program office was quoted as saying, "This is a great opportunity for all of us to step up and help out a good friend of the US. Our role is minimal, as the Finnish Air Force has complete faith in Patria Aviation, its trusted agent that actually built the C models from kits shipped over from Boeing back in the 90s. It was added that Boeing provided engineers to Patria in support of an ongoing midlife upgrade and had engineers back in St. Louis defining the necessary structural pieces for Airframe Hotel November 413. And so in September 2009, the Finnish Air Force's one-of-a-kind twin-seat F-18D aircraft rolled out. As you can see with the timing, this was past that aggressive 2-year schedule and saw a modification time of 3.5 years. After rollout, Franken Hornet received a new registration, Hotel November 468. Used for training, the jet took to the skies again on December 3, 2009 after an approximately 100,000-hour rebuild. Unfortunately, it looks like destiny really didn't want that aircraft flying. Indeed, less than 2 months after that first flight in December 2009, Airframe 468 would crash during a test flight on January 21, 2010. Key.Aero says that the jet had suffered a major control failure, forcing the crew members to eject. Service sources later told local media that the aircraft was believed to have lost control after going into a tailslide following a high-speed dive, while Aviation Safety Network files state that a hydraulic valve had failed in the servo cylinder that controls the plane's stabilators, the tail wings that help guide the pitch of the aircraft. Flight Global specifies that the jet's pilot ejected from an altitude of around 14,800 feet, or 4,500 meters, with the aircraft having then crashed in a field in a sparsely populated area near the town of Juupajoki, around 175 kilometers, or 95 nautical miles north of Helsinki. And so that is the tragic story of Finland's Franken plane, although the story of Frankenstein and the life of Frankenstein's monster is, in our opinion, a little more tragic and heartbreaking. But, well, it's not a competition, although the former actually happened, while the latter is a work of fiction. What's tragic for the Finnish Air Force is how much time, effort and money was devoted to turning Airframe 413 into 468. In the end, the multinational project cost Finnish taxpayers €15 million for parts, as well as 100,000 man-hours in labour. All this allowed the jet to be active and operational for, well, less than 2 months, a short second life that no one would have predicted. Hopefully, plenty of Finnish Air Force training flights took place during those 7 or so weeks, but, well, we're not completely sure that actually happened, especially when factoring in the possibility of time off during the Christmas holiday season. And so, did you know about the story of Franken plane / Franken Hornet? Let us know by leaving a comment.